deal with airplane peanuts.
Bert Kreischer's new movie, The Machine, has been dominating the comedy news cycle this past week after coming out in theaters Memorial Day weekend. It's been said by many that the success or failure of this movie may be the deciding factor when it comes to the future of comedians either creating blockbuster hits with massive studio budgets or still having to rely on the outdated Hollywood system and their industry censorship. Even with all of this hanging in the balance, there was still a surprisingly large divide amongst comedy fans on the internet in regards to The Machine. Most people really wanted this movie to do well, either as a fan of Bert or just comedians in general. But there's still more than a handful of people who, for whatever reason, made it known that they're preying on the downfall of this movie and rooting outwardly for a flop. Whether you came into this video as a Bert supporter or as one of his doubters, there's still 3 questions on everyone's mind surrounding the release of this movie that are yet to be answered. Being number 1, what happened at the premiere? Will there be a Machine 2, 3, and 4? And most importantly, did the movie lose or make money? We're taking a look at the actual numbers so we can answer each one of these questions in depth. Starting off with the one thing every comedian was posting about last week, Bert's wild premiere.
This might be the most handsome young man in comedy right now, and Matt Rife. Me and Matt Rife together. See that?
The premiere honestly looked like everything that you'd expect from Bert. The entire event was basically just a huge party start to finish, and the list of guests in attendance ranged everywhere from random athletes and porn stars to celebrities like Snoop Dogg, plus tons of comedians in attendance like Jim Jeffries and Tom Segura, who surprised Bert on the red carpet after initially saying he was not planning on attending the premiere.
Doesn't reply. Hey man, are you gonna make it to the premiere? Please tell me you're making it to the premiere. No reply. I then call him and he's like, hey man, I can't fucking make it. And I go, actually, I'm actually bothered by it. Like I'm bothered. I go, you're my best friend. We have a podcast together and we have a movie set up over at Legendary. Fat astronauts, you guys need to make it.
That's a great
no one replies. No one replies. Tom hits me up. I have a publicist texting me this morning. I have a signing for my book, which is going into paperback.
Oh yeah, when it does make the move from hard to paper, it is
Yeah,
a big
that's
deal.
a big
That's
deal.
a big deal.
That is a very big deal.
It's a
Very
big
big
fucking
deal.
deal. And he goes,
Yeah.
I can't get out of it. I'm coordinating with my publisher, and it's Barnes & Noble, so it's kind of a big deal. It's coming out in paperback. And I
Aren't
went,
they closing down?
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't they close down?
I'm the fool in this story
Yeah.
because I'm listening to Barnes & Noble.
He's like, plus I have a VHS signing at Blockbuster and
fries.
I think I got to go to Fries Electronics.
and I think straight guys can get AIDS. And he's like, all the things that we thought back then. And I said, I got you, no worries. And he goes, hey man, congrats on your big day. I'm so sorry I couldn't make it. Very excited to see you in this movie and in movie theaters. Have a great weekend. I love you. Have fun. And I just wrote, thanks, Tommy. I wish you could be here. I understand. I love you. And then this shows up.
He showed up.
I know that because you told me they showed up.
I did.
It
It was
was,
beautiful.
and I cried.
He cried real hard.
The budget for this movie has been reported to be anywhere between $20 and $35 million for The Machine. According to this movie website that I found that's literally called The Numbers, The Machine was released last weekend in the United States and Canada and is projected to gross around $5 million from the 2,409 theaters over its 4-day Memorial Day opening weekend, with a 1-week average run per theater and a leg ratio of 1.2. The film made $2.3 million on its first day and had a domestic versus international share of 98.9% domestic, meaning The Machine was almost exclusively viewed in the US. After taking a closer look at these initial numbers, it's clear that The Machine failed to make back Sony's entire budget on opening weekend. But in the movie world, that by no means makes this project a flop. Just take the new Nike movie Air, for example. With a loaded cast featuring Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, Chris Tucker, and Jason Bateman, they had a $90 million budget and a massive worldwide appeal, and yet still fell short of making their money back in theaters. But Air has already been put on Hulu, so it can hit a whole new demographic, a whole new audience, a massive audience at that, which I assume is what's next for The Machine. These huge production companies like Sony are very aware of how important success is on the streaming websites. And if their strategy heading into this thing was to only keep Bert's movie in theaters for one weekend in the first place, it's safe to assume the plan for The Machine was always to continue making money on one of the well-known streaming services after being released in theaters. It also seems like we'll still get to see plenty of big-time comedians starring in big-time films moving forward. Sebastian's new movie called About My Father is out right now in theaters as well, featuring Robert De Niro as the actor playing his dad. And even on a smaller scale, comics self-producing their own projects is continuing to become the norm. Whether it be their own specials, sketch shows, movies, or even books, like we've seen recently from Tom Segura, Joey Diaz, and now Tim Dillon. Tim's new book, titled Death by Boomers: How the Worst Generation Destroyed the Planet, But First a Child, is now available for pre-order online, and according to the book's description, Death by Boomers details a parenting style that made Tim a near nearly perfect person, a closeted gay cocaine addict who enthusiastically supported the Iraq War and didn't get a credit score until he was 36. Also fat. This book will be enjoyed by anyone raised by a boomer or anyone genuinely curious about the generation of people who endured the greatest hardships known to man: mall traffic and occasional lines at the grocery store. Take a trip down memory lane with Tim and his friends as they navigate growing up with these proud, self-righteous boomers. You know them now as a tribe of Facebook warriors, but once upon a time, they ruled this land some call the suburbs. They were kings and queens of the drive-thru, and if you walk down a street in Long Island, you can still hear them, in a faint voice, telling the tale of someone who's wronged them.
This looks awesome. Your title, Death by Boomers, How the Worst Generation Destroyed the Planet, but First, a Child. It's an amazing title.
No, it's great. And what it is my father is 70 and my mother is, God only knows where she is. She may not be with us anymore. But what I wanted to do before they died was just one more disgraceful moment. Yeah. Like a head hung low moment where I could share all these like horrific stories from growing up with boomers. I love boomers. Boomers are funny. It's not a woe is me book. Yeah. Boomers are deeply selfish, narcissistic monsters sent to destroy the earth. They've destroyed society.
A Tim Dillon autobiography / memoir of sorts sounds so electric, so funny. The description was hilarious. Honestly, this is long overdue. Thank God people like Joey Diaz and Tim Dillon are finally writing out their life stories in book form, giving us comedy fans what we've always wanted. I've already pre-ordered a copy of Tim's new book so we can make a recap video for everyone right here on Joke World once it arrives. Guest spots from last week: the Joe Rogan Experience had Protect Our Parks number 8. Two Bears, One Cave was Tom and Ryan Blaney. Kill Tony this week was with Brian Holtzman and Ian Edwards. Mark Norman was on Take Your Shoes Off. We Might Be Drunk had on Mike Vecchione. Mike was also the guest on Chrissy Chaos. Burt Kreischer was on Bad Friends. Will Compton was a guest on Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast. And the Tim Dillon Show featured guests Tom Segura and Christina P.
It is like an art form to be of how to get out of things in this world, in the comedy podcast world. You're always like, no, the thing is, dude, I'm having ankle surgery.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? Yeah. You're like, I thought you broke your. I'm like, no, I did, but I found out my ankle's weak too. So I
use my mother a lot because she's in a mental institution.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So I just go, what's great is I go, my mother's not doing well. Now here's the thing, my mother's never been doing well.
Yeah.
It's been 30 years of my mother not doing well.
Yeah.
I don't even know what my mother doing well would look like. You know what I mean? Like, what would that even be?
Yeah.
She's a morbidly obese schizophrenic. So if my mother walked to the door of her room and opened it herself, it's a win. Yeah. So what's...
This past weekend with Thea Vaughn had on Brianna Chicken Fry. Joey Diaz was on Flagrant. Howie Mandel was a guest on the Heartland Highway. Whiskey Ginger talked with Angela Johnson Reyes. Dave Stone was on The Honeydew. Brandon Wardell was on Stabby's World. Pete Holmes was on The Blocks Podcast. And Yamanika Saunders was on You Know What Dude. As far as brand new stand-up specials, are either out right now or coming out soon, or maybe they've been out for a little bit, but we haven't mentioned it on the comedy news yet, so we're just mentioning it now for the first time. Those kind of specials. I'm an Entertainer just came out on Netflix last week. Also, Angela Johnson Reyes, Say I Won't is out right now on YouTube. That has over 1 million views, as well as Dave Stone, Pack a Lunch.
You know what I'm talking about? Every shitty job I ever worked around here, there was at least one dude who had his own dumb personal mantra. Wouldn't shut the hell up about it, you know? Well, they come up here trying that shit with me, they better pack a lunch. Boss man thinks I'm working on Saturday, he better pack a lunch.
Let me know in the comments if there's any new comedy specials that you've enjoyed recently. Also, a cool Joke World fun fact. This is episode 53 of the Joke World Comedy News Update. Somehow we've been doing these for over a year already, so that's awesome. Thank you for watching all these. If you have, watching this video, watching the other 52 videos. If you haven't watched all of them, then thank you for watching this one, I guess. All right, that's it.
At Joke World. That's it, at Joke World.
And the world is WRLD.